What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_Access. Joined alongside Emilio in Tennessee here to talk Packers Cowboys this evening. We're going to give you guys an injury update. Obviously, injury report dropping another day in the books there at practice. Give you a little bit of footage from practice as well. We'll also hit on the game plan. Packers Cowboys, kind of give you a deep dive into what the Cowboys do well, what they do not so well, and how the Packers may be able to exploit that Cowboys defense and hopefully shut down a Cowboys offense that's been pretty darn good up to this point in the season. Before we dive into all that, if you guys would do that YouTube stuff for me, smash that like button, hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when we do go live here in the near future. And if this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. We're not experts here. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We are fans just like you, talking Packers on the daily, doing live streams pretty much every day. We also upload other videos. We're going to be doing film breakdown. We'll be giving you a pregame show come Sunday there before the Packers-Cowboys kick off, and then we'll be live immediately following the game for the postgame show as well. So if you're looking for daily content, make sure you click that bell icon so you're notified, and make sure you obviously click subscribe. Emilio, how you doing tonight, big dog?
I'm great. Hey, I'm happy. It's already Thursday. Get a little football tonight. Time's closing in for Sunday night. It's be a beautiful week here at the end of the Sunday.
Yeah, man. I tell you, the week flew by, man. It absolutely has flown by. I'm excited about it. We're one day closer to the season wrapping up here for the mowing season, that is, and we can just kind of sit back and get fat over the winter. So that's the goal in my household anyway. So
yeah, good for you, man. I'll be scraping and clawing all winter. You know how it is. Be finding leaf jobs all throughout the city.
Yeah, hey, you got to do what you got to do, man. That's for sure. So. All right, let's dive into it, man. Hey, listen, it was a tough loss in Cleveland. We've talked about it. We broke the tape down, all that. It looks like the team is ready to turn the page. Rob Demovsky tweeted out a day after Elton Jenkins said, quote, "I've played like poopy," end of quote. Kind of paraphrasing there, obviously. Matt LaFleur called it a mature response. He said, quote, "He's one of our better players, so in order to win games in this league, you need your best players to play at their best. It wasn't just him. It was all of us, myself included." Love the mindset of the team. Nobody passing blame, nobody pointing fingers. Jordan said he needed to play better. Matt LaFleur led the charge there in the postgame presser. He needs the coach better. Obviously, everybody across the board could have done a little bit more to pull out that win there in Cleveland. I'm not overly concerned, but I love Elton's response here, man, just kind of taking ownership because it did look bad. But when you go back and watch the tape, he was on skates all day, and look for them to rebound here against the Dallas Cowboys. Man, what do you think about the mindset of the team so far, man?
Yeah, I think it's one of those where it kind of just resets you, right? It's, hey, I kind of got a little bit, either clouded or whatever. I just wasn't putting 110 in. Maybe I was putting 95 in and still getting it done. But it's just a quick reset, get back on track, take care of that. Like you said, everyone was taking blame. Matt, Elton, Micah. I mean, you listened to McManus when he was talking, even him, they're asking him, was it the guy on the edge that did it? Was it up the middle? Hey, sometimes you get beat on a kick, sometimes you just get beat on a play. It's, I thought maybe I hit it, but, I just want everyone to know that when I go out there, we're going to be, expect me to make that kick. Same with, Rich and everybody. So it's like, no one's going to put anybody down. I love that about the team, but they all know what they need to do right and to get right and how to approach it.
Absolutely. Coach Lynn in the chat says Elton Jenkins must be watching the show. And he also said, love when a player calls himself out. Absolutely, man. It's all about ownership. Now, I will say this. I love Jacob Morley on Twitter. His tweet here, he said, "Weird. I thought it was over." As you could see here, that it was an image that was tweeted out by Kaushi, whoever that is, said best playoff odds of any NFL team. Again, this was as of 2:12 p.m. today is when he tweeted this out. The Packers have the best odds of any NFL team to make the playoffs at 82%. And again, I love how Jacob Morley said, "Weird. I thought it was over." Isn't it crazy how we went from we're the Super Bowl favorite to some fans pretending like the freaking season was over because you lost by 3 points on the road in the NFL?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, how happy are we that we're 2-1 at this point? Where would we have been at the beginning of this season when we were talking about going 2-1 into Dallas? It didn't matter who those teams are. If you just had us on win-loss columns, I think it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But yeah, it's it's not bad. You still got to have faith in this team, and I think they're still hungry. You just got a little smacked around. Hey, it happened before the bye week, which I think maybe that might be a blessing, because maybe we do come out a little slow on the bye or not prepared, or maybe you're taking a little lax. I don't think that they're going to let that happen this year. I think because they talked about it all off season. We know what we need to do. We know what we're chasing after. It's more than just taking the division or something like that. They want more. So I think that mentality might come back and kind of relight that fire.
Yeah, Nick McSwain in the chat said people way overreact to losses sometimes. One game doesn't define a team win or lose. It's never as bad as you think it is. It's never as good as you think it is, right, Nick? And again, you start the season 2-0. It's great. That's great news, right? You probably stole a game that you should have otherwise lost, or at least people expected you to maybe lose, even though you were the favorites in both those games. I like where this team's at, man, and I think you get that tough loss out of the way, kind of reset. Now, listen, the offensive line's banged up. There's no two ways about it. And that's going to be an uphill battle for the foreseeable future. Luckily, we got a bye week coming up next week. You can kind of reset. Who knows? You might make a roster move, too, to try to bolster the offensive line. I wouldn't be surprised with that as well. But completely agree there, Nick. So Matt Schneidman had tweeted out here, Packers, 3 Packers not practicing today. Right tackle Zach Tom with the oblique. Right tackle Anthony Belton with the ankle was downgraded from limited to did not participate today, and then left guard Aaron Banks with the groin injury. So it's going to be tough. Now here's the good news, guys. Dallas's defense, that's the weak spot of their team. Again, that doesn't mean that any given Sunday anything couldn't happen, but if you're going to have an opponent where your offensive line might be a little bit banged up, it's probably the Cowboys that you're going to want to go up against. I would feel a lot worse about this game if our defense was really banged up going up against Dak Prescott and an offense that, albeit they're going to be without CD Lamb now and a couple offensive linemen themselves, but he's played pretty good football this year, Dak has. So with that being said, I don't know, man. If this was 3 defenders, Emilio, I'd be a little more concerned. I'm not as concerned, although you got to go out there and just keep it simple, man. Play your game. Don't try to get too cute. Don't try to get crazy with the blocking assignments. We'll get into the game plan here in a minute. I personally think they should run a little more stretch, a little more BC outside zone runs, and get everything stretching horizontally to open up that boot action. I'd like to see that, because when you run boot action, 9 times out of 10, you don't have to worry about pass blocking because you're getting a free release with the quarterback, probably one contained guy, and you're kind of creating not necessarily a moving pocket, but just a space for him to be able to create time to hit that second, maybe even third option. So I don't know how you feel about the offensive line. What are you thinking there?
We just haven't seen a lot of – I mean, we've seen some of it, but not a bunch of that boot. You remember it a lot more with Rodgers, just really sticking that ball way out there, sell it. But maybe we can't lean on that when we haven't been able to get that running game going. And, Tuck was saying it in his interview, is kind of just getting people in the right position. Even if they're loading the box, we have to get Jacobs going. And, Jacobs has that mentality. My runs are going to come. It'll come to me. The game's going to play itself out how it does. But we do need to kind of keep consistent on that, get that moving forward. And maybe if it's not as, complex or something like that, we don't need as many shifts. I want to still see him moving it and stuff, but let's get to the line with 10, 15 seconds on the play clock, see what's going on, and then if you want to run a shift, still have time to, maybe snap it ahead of time, things like that. We just want to keep them honest, because if they don't have the pass rush that they need, if they stop us on the run, then we're not going to be in a pickle. But it's just like we can't keep falling ours to like a one-sided team.
Right. And I'll say this, to me, it's not a coincidence that we were talking about for the first 2 weeks, right, that the running game has struggled, correct? We all agree, like the running game has been cheeks. And now coming out of week 3, same thing, it's been cheeks. What has changed systematically? What has stuck out to us? We're running more 12 personnel than we ever have under Matt LaFleur.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is get away from 12, get into 11 a little bit more, open things up, spread things out a touch, and then be willing to run some of those outside zones. Here's the other thing. I've seen some comments in the chat about we need to get under center. I completely disagree. I think we need to get back to the gun RPO aspect of the offense. Not every play. You shouldn't abandon under center completely. But what I've seen here recently is you're not playing that RPO game near as much as you have in the past. So I would like to see them press into that aspect, open things up in the running game that way. That coincides with 11 personnel. You can do it out of any personnel, and you can also run RPOs from under center. To me, they're just not as effective when you're spreading things out. So I would like to see it kind of in the opposite direction there. I don't know how you feel about that, man, in terms of the RPO look and maybe getting into gun a little bit more. Again, I think the chat is pretty firm in their belief. They think we should stay under center. But again, when you're in 12 personnel, I mean, we seen it. What was it? We ran was it a 13? It was a 13 nasty gun, right? Out of that gun, we were effective. When you're going back under center, it just feels like you're not as effective running the ball. And I will say this, for 2 years running, I had ran the numbers. I don't know if I did it last year, but I know I did it for 2 years. I think it was 22 and 23. And we had a better yards per carry when running out of the gun than we did under center. That was a fact. So it doesn't mean it's going to be like that the rest of this year, but that's how the numbers fell. So
I mean, and you can be in 12 in gun, you can be in 13 in gun too. It's not like you can have them attached, you can have them stacked, you can bring Tuck into the backfield. It could be gun full, half full house, something like that. And we saw a little bit of pistol this game as well. I think that's acceptable also. But if you're talking about under gun RPO, the only one we really saw this year was on the goal line when Jacobs was going to get that handoff and Love just lifted his head up and just drilled that quick slant to Dobbs. So it's just a harder look. You're almost looking like in the back of your head, or a quick look at the beginning of the snap and just hoping that the corner's not there. You can see a lot more when it's basically like when you're under center, it's more like man. When you're in the gun, it's more like zone. You can you have eyes on everything. You can see what's going on. So I do like that. Even the pistol, just get him a little bit of breathing room. But I think we need to get the run game going to sell anything else. They're just not buying it.
And to me, I haven't seen a whole lot of outside zone runs, right? Yeah. So that's why I'm like, why not give that a shot? Why not? Let's build a game plan around that and try to exploit their linebackers who, according to PFF and according to passer rating when targeted, have been pretty darn bad so far in this young season for sure. Aaron Rodgers go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, are we worried about the line, like reaching left and right? Like, are we worried about them going down the line at all?
No more worried than us coming out in a 12 or a 13 personnel and just hitting our head against them.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because what would you say is Josh Jacobs' strength? Because to me, I think it's his ability to cut, to make guys miss. He doesn't have that top end speed, obviously, but boy, oh boy, he can make guys miss. So if you do have guys that are kind of breaking free on some of these outside zones, you're giving him more space to work with as opposed to, all right, man, this is designed with a little sift. We're going straight to the A gap.
Right.
If they clog that A gap because you've got 12 personnel and they got their base or maybe even a heavier than their base, they may go with kind of a hybrid 4-4 look or something. He has nowhere to go. If you stretch it, you can come out with 2 or 3 cutback lanes.
I love that.
And again, I'm not saying it's going to work, but you got to try something different.
Give him an option. I love that. Go back to what we kind of did with Aaron Jones. Get him outside. You can go way outside to 9, or you can cut it in up on 1 if you have that lane. They overplay it. Kenny gets too stretched out, whatever it is. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, definitely. Aaron Rodgers with the super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. Evening PTA thoughts on the music chairs on O-line and what happened to pony package misdirection run. We ran one play, if I remember correctly, and I don't know if it was pony. I think it was a double sidecar where we did a little bit of a fake misdirection, but you're right. That's been missing a touch. And I think what it comes down to is, to be honest with you, Aaron, is we can't even run a simple duo right now, So when you get into trying to get these linemen to run misdirection and this guard pulling there and that tackle pulling backside and all this and that, I think that might be why LaFleur is a little more hesitant in that regard. It might be also he's seeing the same thing we're seeing in the run game, that we're just kind of hitting our head against the wall. That might have been why he went to passing plays in those 3rd and shorts too. Like he didn't have a whole lot of confidence in getting that first down. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Thoughts on the musical chairs with the offensive line? I absolutely hate it. I hate it, man. I would love things to be a lot more firm. You got a backup left tackle, you got a backup right tackle, and you got a couple backup interior guys, and stop trying to mix and match in this. And I know Coach Steno doubled down on it in his presser today, Emilio, but I could not disagree more, man. goodness.
Yeah, didn't get to Steno's presser, so I'm excited to listen to that. But yeah, it's the musical chairs is rough. We can't have it. We were planning for it. I mean, at this point, I'm glad we didn't take a corner. I'm glad we were a little bit off on that in the draft because, geez, it's like we needed this at this point. We back-to-back years. You go to the line. We didn't find those fourth-round gems like Zach Tom, but we need to find somebody that can step in here and play some ball for us. So that's going to be key. And yeah, I just think that it's something that this team can kind of get through, but they all need to kind of work together. It's that 111th on offense, the 111th on teams and defense, but the offense just needs to start sort of clicking.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to practice from earlier today, Rob Domofsky had tweeted this out. Javon Bullard back on the field in pads, a sign he's progressing through concussion protocol, not cleared yet. No sign of Anthony Belton, who was limited yesterday because of an ankle. Zach Tom, the oblique, Aaron Banks, the groin, did not participate. Belton is a possible fill for Tom at right tackle. So going to get really interesting if for some reason Anthony Belton can't play. Again, I think there's a better chance that Bullard will be ready to go on Sunday night, seeing that he's progressing. When you get worried, Emilio, when you get to Thursday and they're still not out of concussion protocol, or not out of concussion protocol, but they haven't progressed to, okay, you can go on the field now, right? That's when you're worried. So I would be surprised if Bullard is not available on Thursday night. On Sunday night for sure.
So, yeah, super happy for Bull. That was one of the first worries when we saw the opening injury report. Just want him to be all right, and love that he's already back on the field moving around. So hopefully he just got his bell rung that day and it was kind of just taking it easy for the first couple days back. And then, let's get him back out there and get going.
Yeah. This is what I was referring to. J. Cole said, Steno mentioned that Jordan Morgan can play anywhere on the line. Bro, we have eyes. Normally I would just kind of defer on a comment like this, Jay, but I couldn't agree more, man. The other thing he said, Emilio, in that presser, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, and I caught it just in passing, but he said something along the lines of when they asked him, are you kind of making a mistake moving Morgan around so much? And he said, well, when you're a backup offensive lineman, you have to play everywhere. I disagree with that. I do. I just, you want to be able to play multiple positions, but they've played him everywhere but center. And I'm telling you, the only place he's looked comfortable is at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean he can't be serviceable at those other positions, but it's not ideal. It's damn sure not ideal when you march him out there at right tackle as if he's the best second option at right tackle. Like Jay said, we got eyes, man. He just does not look comfortable with that kick step to the right. And you notice that when he's playing left tackle, how he kind of leaves that inside arm free, and it just looks like, you guys know, you could tell when a player is comfortable with something. It might be a jump shot in basketball. It might be a shortstop turning two. Whatever it is, you could tell when they're comfortable at doing something. They kind of have this little, I don't know if it's a trademark, if it's a signature style or whatever. You see him at right tackle. I mean, he just plays tight. He looks
clunky.
Yeah,
left tackle looks smooth. Right tackle looks clunky.
Right. And tighter than a tick on a coon's ass, man. He just like he cannot move at all.
That's it, man. And the problem with that is, he was a first round pick, so then you got everybody expecting him to be great wherever you do put him. Yeah, he's able to fill in at those spots. Yeah, you actually started him off at a right guard battle because you just wanted him on the line, which isn't a problem. He showed up. He almost beat out Ryan, where they were back and forth. Then you put him at battle at left tackle again, and you're just kind of leaning on Rashid. Nothing wrong with Rashid, but if we were talking about who's going to fill in those spots, and then you bring in Banks on the left guard, so it's not like you're going to move Banks over to right guard. So you have all these different things, and you're kind of pigeonholing yourself to the fact that Morgan has to go all over the place when really he should just stay on that left side. Even if it's left guard for now, he just needs to be left side of the center. It does. Like you said, he had that one staple where he kind of just dangled that free hand, and he just looks so much more comfortable with it.
Yeah, definitely. 2-0 for this says Kennard should be our backup right tackle, and it isn't close. Completely agree. 2-0 for this. Completely. Based off of the situation we got right now, the starting lineup should be Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, in my opinion, Sean Ryan, and then or possibly Anthony Belton if he can show he can play guard, which I think he's got the body mass and the strength to do it. We've seen him. That's one of his strong points, right? And then at right tackle, Zach Tom when he's healthy, and then have Kennard maybe be his backup. I'm okay. I'm okay with Belton being the backup. And listen, I understand that he committed penalties. I got you. Well, guess what? So did Rasheed Walker, multiple. So did Jordan Morgan, multiple. You got Elton Jenkins getting his butt kicked in the middle, right? When you turn on the tape with Anthony Belton at right tackle, Emilio, yes, he makes mistakes with penalties occasionally, and some of them are aggressive penalties, right, where it's like hitting people out of bounds, stuff like that, right?
Yep.
But other than that, he looks like he belongs at right tackle. So I would be okay with either Kennard or Belton being the backup right tackle, but not Jordan Morgan. So let's look at it that way. Let's start at the tackle position. Your starters, ideally, Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom. Your backup at left tackle should be Jordan Morgan. Your backup at right tackle, whether you go Kennard or Belton, that good either way, right? Now you're talking about backup on the interior offensive line rather than throwing Jordan Morgan in there if Sean Ryan comes out or whatever. Why not give Anthony Belton a shot and then have Jordan Morgan be your backup left guard? Just keep Jordan Morgan on the left side, for God's sakes, please. Just give him a chance. Just give him a chance.
I feel the same way. And I'm pretty sure Belton played left tackle his senior year. I'm not sure about his other years, but Belton seems more comfortable being able to move. I think it's just because it's a different kind of game. Belton gets his hands on you, and he kind of stops the dude, ends the guy right there. He's got a lot of strength. He's physical. He can duo real well. I think that if him and somebody else, he can wash down super well. So there's a lot of benefits to Belton. That's just different from Morgan. They're just different players, which isn't a problem at all. But you kind of got to know where they feel most comfortable. Even if you might have to take a 5% ding or something, I would rather keep them comfortable and say, hey, maybe we're going to be 80% instead of 85% if we put all of our quote unquote best out there, moving them all around as chess pieces. Let's put everybody in the most comfortable spot and be solid.
Mm-hmm. Joe in the chat says, I don't know why we're babying Morgan. Everyone else could slot into any position at any time, but now that he can't, all of a sudden we shouldn't do it anymore. That is the most inaccurate statement I have read in a long time. If you think that making a second-year player who played left tackle his entire career play all four positions other than center over the last 2 years is babying him, I'd hate to see what rough, playing it rough is, And on top of that, explain to me the player on this offensive line that plays well in multiple positions that's not named Zach Tom. I'll wait. Because if you say Elton Jenkins has statistically gotten worse at center than he was at left guard, right? Just because he's playing center doesn't mean that he can play multiple positions effectively.
Right.
So, yeah.
And Elton played center in college, but he felt more comfortable at left guard.
There ain't nobody babying Morgan. Like I said, you've literally got the media members now looking at the same thing going, boys, this kid looks like he's comfortable on the left side. And again, if you're going to convince yourself that any offensive lineman can do that, go play Madden. That's typically the people that do that. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, he's a 78 at left tackle. When I move him to right guard, he goes to an 82.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ask Josh Sitton. Go ask Brian. Brian Bulaga was drafted to be a left tackle, right? Well, because they had I think they had Chad Clifton at left tackle at the time. They said, we'll just play you at guard. Ask him how easy it is to do that. Was Brian Bulaga bad at football? Were they babying Brian Bulaga? They realized by the end of training camp, Brian Bulaga couldn't do it. So what do? They kicked him all the way out to right tackle. And he tried to settle in there and learn that position. So that's just simply not true that, anybody can plug and play anywhere. That's just that's absolutely crazy. And again, that's not my opinion. That's offensive linemen who have played in the league for a significant amount of time that say that. And again, we always use the disgusting analogy that Josh Sitton came up with, talking about trying to wipe with the opposite hand. It's not an easy thing to do to just bounce back and forth on the offensive line. So another guy that's looking to get healthy here, obviously Rob Domofsky tweeted this out. Packers tight end Tucker Kraft, speaking for the first time since his knee injury in practice last Thursday, said it, quote, got extended in a weird way while blocking. Confirmed that's why he's been wearing the sleeve on his right leg. Initial reports that it was a left knee were incorrect. So it was actually his right knee, not his left knee. And obviously that happened in practice. So I think Tucker's going to get healthier as the season goes along. I think he's off to a good start too. So just want to give you guys that quick little update. Let's move along to the entire injury report. and then we'll jump into the game plan a touch. So it's a long list. Everything that we covered yesterday stays the same, other than Anthony Belton with the ankle was limited yesterday. He did not participate today. Okay, so that's a little bit alarming for me. And then the other thing that changed, obviously, Javon Bullard still in concussion protocol, did not participate, and he was limited today. Other than that, everything has pretty much stayed the same across the injury report. It's a long list, but when you look at this list, let's just focus on the did not participate, Amelia. We talked about it. Aaron Banks, Anthony Belton, let's see, Zach Tom. Those are the only did not participate. So the offensive line is what's going to take a hit. You obviously signed Brant Banks to be on your active roster to play offensive line this week. I think that was part of the plan there, knowing that they were going to be really, really light, I guess, at the position, offensive line in general. So other than offensive line, I feel pretty good about the injury report, even though it does look a little alarming on the surface here. I think most of these guys, if not all of them, will be playing.
Yeah, not terribly concerned about it. It just looks visually super long. Hope Bull's all right. Like I said, Tucker I think he's going to be all right. He said that he had maybe done something like this kind of when he was younger back in high school, but no worries now. Really, he just likes to wear compression. And yeah, really that not too worried about it.
Yeah. And then on the Cowboys side, the things that changed, the Deron Bland cornerback with the foot injury went from limited to full participation. We should expect him to play. You've got Bridges cornerback went from limited to full. He'll play. Look at Trayvon Diggs. That's kind of a surprise there with the knee. Did not participate Wednesday. He was full participation Thursday. So it looks like he may be good to go unless he has another setback. Now, obviously, they're going to be without CD Lamb, who did not participate. He's pretty much already been ruled out, as has Tyler Booker, their tackle. Obviously, BB, we talked about, another offensive line. So they're down 2 starting offensive linemen and their number 1 wide receiver. So obviously they're hit a little bit harder with the injury bug than we are in that regard.
And that CD going down happened on like a gadget play where you put CD in the backfield, hand on the ball, and he gets the handoff and something happens. So it's one of those freak things. You know what they said on their pod was hey, if you're going to go up to Shotty and say one thing to him, he would say, hey, if you're going to run CD back there, just know I can't replace him. And that's kind of the mentality you kind of got to go into it with, star players, whoever it is, that, hey, if we're going to be doing this kind of gadget stuff, if he's not going to be out on the outside, breaking free, he's going to have to go through linebackers and stuff like that. We just got to know there's a potential that you could lose him type thing.
Yeah. Ray in the chat has an interesting comment. He says, try Ryan at center and put Jenkins back at his regular position. I'm not completely opposed to that, Ray. But what we need, I feel like what the top priority should be, and again, I'm no more important a fan as you are, right? It's just my opinion based off of your comment here. I want less moving parts, right? Yeah, I think we would all agree this Elton Jenkins at center, that's the plan for the entire year. So let's try to give him a chance to settle in. Now, obviously, he's familiar with center. He played center all through college and played it at a very high level at Mississippi State, right? But obviously, he gets to the league. He's only played it when the offensive line's gotten a little banged up. So I would rather, me personally, have Elton Jenkins stay at center and have Sean Ryan stay at right guard and let those guys continue to improve rather than pull him out. And I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying it sounds like a bad idea. Like, I don't go, ooh, no way, because I think Sean Ryan could be fairly effective at center. I think Sean Ryan is kind of underrated, to be honest with you, man. He's come a long way since that rookie year when he obviously got suspended and then had setbacks along the way.
Yeah, no, look at this, man. I mean, from right to left, I mean, he has upgraded, but the only issue with that is if you're going to put Jenkins back at his regular position, where does Aaron Banks go? Because Elton's a left guard. I mean, technically, yeah, you might be able to put him to right guard, but then we might be back at the kick step and him not feeling completely comfortable and all that. So, it's like you said, man, once you try to do that, and most of the time, Clayton, you got an 87 left tackle, you put him anywhere else, he's 85, 84, 83 and below, man. It does not work out in your favor.
It always cracks me up when people, and you can tell that's what they're thinking. And listen, I love Madden as much as any other person, but when they just think that you can, especially the corner to safety and safety to corner, like it's just not a big deal. I'm like, oh boy, that couldn't be further from the truth. Not everybody's Charles Woodson.
Right. Played a versus game last night, Clay. Guess what happened? Got the kick, got the extra point block.
No, you didn't.
I'm telling you, I about spiked the controller. I was not happy.
you trying to decompress playing a little Madden, and then lo and behold, you get.
I did run into a versus game against the Bears, and I went up 21-7 and made the dude quit, so that helped me feel a little bit better.
Coach Lynn says Elton Jenkins needs to stay at center. He's not looked good at guard or tackle in the past few years. I agree with that, Coach. Elton Jenkins' best football seems to be behind him. This isn't just a this year thing, right? It's and people will refer to him as a Pro Bowler, right, or All Pro or whatever it was. The title he earned, but it's been 2 or 3 years removed since that's happened, right? And that's not to knock him, man. At least he's approaching 30, you know. Emilio, you know what it's all about, man. The body feel a little bit different when you turn that big 3-0, man. And we ain't out there.
Back was a little stiff when I woke up. I felt good, but the back was a little tight. So yeah, it's that's brutal, man. It is, but it's he's played hard for us. He's worked hard. He's a great guy. But if it's just not working out, we need to figure it out. I think I'm still down to give him some time, let him figure it out. We still got the bye coming up. You got a couple big games, and a couple that you kind of want to win and get through, but it's we'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we got this guy coming up, Emilio. We got Mr. Kenny Clark, right? Matt Schneider tweeted out, Kenny Clark tells Packers reporters on a Zoom call that Rashawn Gary is getting his jersey postgame. Kobe Wooden reached out to Kenny first and was like, hey, I want your jersey. And then Kenny kind of sounds like he put it to bed. He said Rashawn Gary's getting it. And I don't know if it was tongue in cheek or not, but it's so cool that the defensive line room is fighting over who gets Kenny's jersey. I mean, that's how much he means to him. And and you guys know with Rashawn Gary and him, they played together for a very, very long time. They've been kind of the leaders on this defense for quite some time as well. I thought that was cool that he mentioned RG, obviously leading the league in sacks and having another Pro Bowl caliber year here for number 52.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure we talked about that when he first went over. It was like, yeah, they were going to be fighting over who gets a jersey. But yeah, you got to trust the man that was always there with you. And I think that'll be a nice swap, right? That'll be one they're going to get on camera, get them signed, bring the Sharpie out there, both of them sign it real quick, get the picture. It'll be a battle going against Kenny, man. I'm glad that he's all right. I'm glad that ankle's okay, and he'll be out there.
Yeah, definitely. Nick McSwain said, I miss Kenny. 2-0 for this says Kenny's jersey swap is rigged. There you go. Joe says Kenny is an OG to us. Amen to that, man. Not so cool says Kenny Clark was one of my favorite players on the Pack, man. He just played the game the right way, and a leader, one of those quiet leaders, which I think those go a long way, man. You know my saying that typically the loudest person in the room has the least amount to say. And Kenny was one of those guys. You could tell when he spoke up, everybody shut up and listened. Yeah. Now, his game was declining, obviously. That's been well documented, well talked about. I was very vocal saying I didn't think they should give him that last contract they did. But you can understand why they did, because he was such a leader and loved in that locker room, and he was still playing at a fairly high level. I would say above average to good level, right? But they, that was one of those situations they overpaid for good. He wasn't great since they gave him the contract. But yeah, Kenny was the man, dude. Again, no slander on Kenny Clark will be tolerated. The best guy around. All right, man. You ready to get into a little game planning here, man? Just dive into some of the expanded numbers here against the Cowboys. I'm excited about this. And listen, there may be some mistakes in here. We'll call them out as we find them. I put this together fairly early. Had a little AI help me with it as well in terms of just structure and everything. And it looked clean originally, and now you're going to notice all kinds of screen grabs, all kinds of pictures and everything in there where I was just like, you know what, this would be a good point to implement that. So we'll dive into it here. On the surface, Amelia, is there anything you want to say about the Packers-Cowboys matchup where you kind of look at and go, and maybe your opinion will change by the end of it. Maybe your opinion will be proven, and something I put in the game plan we will change by the end of the show. What on the surface do you think should be the offensive approach and the defensive approach? Just a real quick version of it.
I think we got to be able – I mean, we need to be able to run it, but I think we're going to lean on throwing the ball to open up the run this game and just force them. They don't have a good pass rush. I think they can kind of slow down the run game. And then, yeah, Matt needs to call a decent game, and Jordan needs to spin it. I really do think.
Yeah. All right, so here we go, guys. The game plan, week 4, Packers at the Cowboys. You can find this over on our Patreon group. Thanks to everyone who's a Patreon member and supporting the show at patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access. All right, let's get into it. To defeat the Cowboys, the Packers should execute a game plan focused on their strengths, including a versatile offense and a suffocating pass rush led by former Cowboys star Micah Parsons, while exploiting Dallas's injury-plagued offense. The Cowboys are missing key players, most notably star receiver CeeDee Lamb, who in my opinion probably would have been a Tuesday player, and he's not on the field. That's huge, which has severely impacted their offense. Here's a detailed game plan for the Packers to secure a victory. Let's start with the offensive game plan first. It just made it look like Coach LaFleur been on that bench press a little bit, been on hitting that curl rack a little bit.
After that pec healed, I think he just said, screw it. Give me the 225. I'm just going to rep it every day.
Absolutely. All right, offensive game plan. The Packers should adopt a balanced offensive attack that keeps Cowboys defense guessing and creates favorable matchups. It's real easy to look at their pass defense, which, guys, it's almost dead last in the league at a .40 EPA per drop back. It's easy to look at that and go, well, let's just go wing it all over the yard. I think that's the worst thing you could do. I think Jordan will have big numbers. Don't get me wrong. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities to exploit that pass defense for the Dallas Cowboys. But like you said right off the top, Emilio, I want to see them press into the run a little bit. Let's talk about what they run on defense, okay? So 2% cover one man, 1% cover zero man. So they're only playing 3% man coverage. This is how Matt Eberflus operates. We talked about it earlier in the week. He is a very, very, very zone-heavy defensive style coach. You guys know that's what he showed when he was in Indianapolis before he got the head coaching job with Chicago. He was the defensive coordinator for the Colts. He gets the head coaching job with the Bears. They stayed zone heavy. Now he's with the Cowboys and they're zone heavy as well. So what kind of zone are they running? 43% of the time, Emilio, they're playing cover 3 zone. 26% of the time they're in cover 2. They're in cover 4, 14% of the time. They're in cover 6, 6% of the time. This is a bend and pray to sweet baby Jesus you don't break top defense, right? So if you're playing a lot of cover 3, now pre-snap, are they showing shell or not? I don't have the answer to that. Maybe somebody in the chat does. When I say shell, meaning they're showing too high and they rotate to single high middle field close. But when you're playing a cover 3 or cover 4, that should deter you from throwing down the field, which tells me attack short to mid-range in the passing game. Don't get suckered in to trying to take a bunch of deep shots and throwing into the teeth of a defense when it comes to a cover 3 zone or even a cover. If they're in a cover 2 zone, it's a true 2 and not a Tampa 2. You might want to attack the seam with Tucker Kraft. You could see that out of 11 or 12 personnel. And then, of course, if they start throwing in a little bit of a hybrid, they don't show any 6% cover 6 and then cover 4 at 14%. So you probably see some crossers involved there as well, but minimal man covers. Does that surprise you at all?
3% is crazy. It's one of two things: either you don't trust your guys, or you just can't do it. It's tough because they've had issues with that, and then on top of that, if you're running man and you can't get pressure, you're even more screwed. I mean, you get somebody to break loose, no one's looking at them. You get past your one guy, it's over. So that's kind of how I always play is Ben, keep it in front of you and stuff like that. But they're also not, when they're in these zones, they're not bringing pressure. They're 4 down, stay in 2. You got 7 in coverage, all that stuff. You're going to find windows. You're going to be able to kind of to drop it in there, especially if the O-line holds up, dump it down, get your 10, whatever. There's going to be some options here. But like you said, we don't need Jordan to be forcing it down the field, because if you're sitting in that 3 or 4, nothing's going to be there over the top. They're just going to match and you'll be done with it. But yeah, you do need to kind of stretch them to maybe open up a dig underneath or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Number 1 on offense, establish the run early. Okay. Run defense, yards per carry allowed. Green Bay is 4th in the league, actually tied for 3rd in the league at only 3.2 yards per carry allowed. Dallas is tied for 7th. At 3.7 yards per carry. So they're a pretty solid run defense, right? And you guys know we love to laugh at Jerry Jones, but this is what he said. When he traded Micah, he went for Kenny because he thought, hey, we can get us another run stuffer in the middle, and that'll help our run defense. We want to be able to stop the run first and foremost. It seems to have worked in that regard. The problem is nothing else is working on defense, right? So this is what I'm saying. You look at this and go, they're a top 10 run defense, maybe we just want to throw it all over the yard. You still want to establish a run, and that's why I think don't run right at those defensive tackles. Let's go BC outside, right?
Yeah.
Let's maybe run a little power look, that type of thing. And don't be afraid. Here's the other thing we haven't done much of is throwing screen passes. You know, you can simulate the run game with some halfback slips. I'd like to see a little bit more of that with Josh Jacobs as well.
Yeah, even and you can do that with Josh Jacobs. You can flip it over to Tuck, on a little tight end screen, but you're going up against a defense that is leaning on stopping the run, keeping everything in front of you. You need to be able to kind of work it through there. If we can get 4 yards of carry, I'll be happy. We just haven't even been able to get that. Josh Jacobs still needs to break out. And like he was saying in his interview, it's going to take 3 or 4 weeks for the run game to kind of get going normally in a season. This is coming on week 4, so I hope that we find whatever it is. If we can get Josh over 100 yards, I'll feel a lot better about where the team's heading. And then you can start, hey, we'll get ahead to a little bit of a lead, kind of lean on the run a little bit more, and then everyone will be happy. Because also running the ball keeps the lineman happy, right? How often do they? We're good at pass blocking. They want to kick back, but O linemen like to run block. They want to go downhill. They want to just crush the dude in front of them. So you can't always be dropping back.
Yeah, you ask any offensive lineman, they're like, man, when you're pass blocking, you're just getting your ass kicked. You're holding on for dear life. You're reacting. You're trying to absorb their punishment, right? When they call a run play, it's all right. Here's my turn now. Yep. You imagine looking across, you're on a pass-happy team, and you're looking across every snap and knowing that defender's just teeing off on you. You finally get an 0-1 trap or something. It's like, all right, buddy. Yeah, you're going to feel me right now.
Mm-hmm. So I'm coming downhill.
Exactly. Jen Wright seems to be on board there with the screen passes. I don't know, man. I feel like we don't utilize it enough. I really do. So utilize Josh Jacobs to control the clock. A strong rushing attack with Josh Jacobs will take pressure off quarterback Jordan Love and prevent the Cowboys' struggling defense from keying in on the pass. The Packers have run the fewest plays per game in the NFL this season, so establishing a methodical rushing offense will be critical. Again, you want to be able to control that clock a little bit too, right? You want to get up early, put the pressure on the Cowboys where they feel like they've got to wing it all around the yard. And then maybe you can have one of those, +2, +3 turnover differential days, which we typically take the ball away from Dak Prescott pretty effectively when we play him. Now, it's talking about attacking the linebackers. Focus on runs to the outside to isolate the Cowboys linebackers and avoid their interior pass rush. Look at their linebackers, Emilio. This is their PFF grades. Jack Sanborn, 52.7. You got Maurice Laufau, I think so you said, 42.6. You've got Damon Clark, 41.8. And then Kenneth Murray Jr., 37.9. So Kenneth Murray Jr. has got the most snaps for them, and he's got the lowest grade of 37.9. Second most snaps is Jack Sanborn at 151 snaps at a 52.7. That's the weak spot. One of the weak spots of this defense is definitely that linebacking core. That's why I'm saying let's stretch that thing a little bit and then work off boot action, get those guys moving horizontally, and then create 2 or 3 throwing windows for Jordan Love in the midline there.
Yeah, because it's not like their coverage grade is great either. Their run defense is coming from up front. The linebacker, if we can get to the second level, that's where you would want Belton in there, right? Maybe wash down a whole side of the line. Then you slip the running back, you slip Josh out to the outside, make a man miss in space, and you're off to the races, or you got a shoulder down on a safety. But yeah, that's I think we do need to attack them.
Yeah, their best pass defending linebacker of this crew is Damon Clark at an 85.4 passer rating when targeted. Kenneth Murray Jr., who's got the most snaps for them, a 105.7 passer rating when targeted. Jack Sanborn, 118.8 passer rating when targeted. So I'm telling you, man, for me, mesh concepts, drive concepts, things to attack the middle of the field, maybe a little Texas with, if you let's say you come out in the 12 personnel, right? And you force them into their base, and you just run 2 skinny posts out of the tight ends down the seam and a Texas route on the backside there with Josh Jacobs. Yep. You get those linebackers stretched vertically a little bit in that cover 3 zone, knowing if you got a single high safety, then one of those tight ends is going to be running free down the seam. That's where the backers will play a little match coverage and follow them out. That's going to open up that little Texas, that angle route, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah.
Little relief valve, love the Texas. And, yeah, you got to be able to work it vertically and find those open spots. It's A blade of grass never scored, but a blade of grass can get you open. So that's where you need to be.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Moving along. Number 2, attack the secondary. Passing defense, yards per pass attempt allowed here. Dallas, guys, 9.4 yards per pass attempt allowed. That is worst in the league. All right. New England is the closest one to them, and they're at 8.6. So, again, you want to establish the run. But
Yep.
I don't know what Jordan Love's over-under is, but boy, oh boy, this might be the week to take him in fantasy or maybe put a little cash on that over, unless it's crazy inflated, right? But, again, they've got one of the worst pass defenses in the entire league here, man.
Yeah, we've talked about it. Bad pass defense and a real bad pass rush. So it's a recipe for them to have a problem. You just got to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah. And if you dive a little deeper here, exploit the Cowboys pass defense. Dallas' secondary has allowed a 125.3 quarterback rating. That's 31st in the NFL through week 3 and a 73.9% completion rate. Jordan Love should be able to exploit these favorable matchups. When you look at their DBs, okay, cornerback, Reddy Stewart. I don't have the snap, so I apologize for that, but a 65.8. Then you got Malik Hooker at safety, 57.3. Kaiir Elam, cornerback, 54.7. Deron Bland, 52.9. Donovan Wilson, the other safety, 52.7. Trayvon Diggs, 50.8. And then you got Bridges, 47.9. CJ Gooden doesn't have a grade yet. Now, when you look at the passer rating when targeted, Donovan Wilson, passer rating when targeted, is only a 16.7. Okay, so that's why it's important to look at PFF, but also look at other analytics and then watch the tape as well. So obviously, Donovan Wilson, not as bad as his PFF grade would suggest, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you move on to Deron Bland, it goes from a 16.7 to an 89.6. That's a big drop off there. Roddy Stewart, 91.4. Kaiir Elam, 136.3. Malik Hooker, 158.3 for Malik Hooker. He's been targeted 6 times. There's been 5 receptions, 155 yards allowed, and 2 touchdowns. So don't be afraid to target Malik Hooker. It's crazy, too, because at one point in the league, he was considered a decent safety. Pretty wild.
Yep, and Donovan Wilson looks like down there on the pro is 178 snaps, so he's in all the time. Kaiir Elam's in 184 snaps, and Hooker's in for 180. So those guys are in the game basically the whole time. Something that you just kind of want to keep an eye out for. You got to know your matchups, who you're lined up across. Who do you think you can best? Who's good against like when you're stacking that guy who's going to be able to turn the corner, things like that. So and again, remember, we're not going to get a lot of man, so our man beaters aren't exactly going to be what we need to lean on. We need to kind of get to space, get to spots, run comebacks, curl, drive concepts, like you said, find the windows in the zone rather than try to beat the guy across from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Chuck Jaggers with the super chat. Thank you so much, Chuck. He said, Dallas let radio get over 30. We better score 60. Appreciate that super chat, man. And as H.E. Soder pointed out, and 2 of them, those quarterbacks were Wilson and Williams. So think about that, right? Caleb Williams.
That's that point. Yeah, we gotta make it happen on this defense because look what they let Wilson and Williams do. The other point is how long did they? I mean, they kind of held Hurts. Kind of. I mean, that was a game. That was a battle between Cowboys Eagles. So there's also that they can show up too. It's not like they don't get paid. So I know that we're talking about cooking them in the secondary and stuff. We just got to be careful, not get too far over the skis. And I hope Matt's kind of just reeling them in. I'm sure he's salivating about what can happen, but. Let's make sure we don't get too far ahead of ourselves.
Absolutely. So again, let's exploit that pass defense, target the young receiving cores, utilize the depth and versatility of the receiving core, including Romeo Dobbs, obviously going to be in your X, Matthew Golden at the Z, Dontavion Wicks. I would put him in more of that F role, right? More of that versatile look, the flex, if you will, right, in Matt LaFleur's offense. Run quick, timing-based routes and take shots downfield when the opportunity arises. So maybe you can get a concept where you can have like a post, right? Like a double post concept,
Yep.
and really put stress on Malik Hooker if he's playing post safety and try to find those windows down the field. That's how you attack cover three if you're going to throw deep, right? A lot of people think, all right, let's just try to get behind the defense and chuck it deep. No, you want to show outside leverage, outside attack, and then bend it back in on a post. If you run a double post and get inside leverage on both the post safety and that outside corner, either side of the field you want to attack, and then have a drive concept on the other side of a 2x2 set underneath, you're giving Jordan Love options. If they bite on the outside move, and you've got inside leverage on the post, hammer that thing in there with no hesitation. If not, you've got time to come back to your check down on a drive concept with, say, a drag or a dig, something like that, maybe a shallow cross, that type of thing.
Right. Even if you ran double post out of trips, Clay, you got your two outside guys, you got a double post with the two outside guys, and that inside trips guy maybe runs a wheel. So if the corners are going with him, they got to match at some point. That wheel might be open late, or that post might be open early. If not, you got maybe a curl on the backside, come back on the backside, a little flare route for your back. You got to be able to kind of get them in the most advantageous spots.
Yeah, and looking at the tendencies earlier, and I didn't add this screen grab into the game plan here, but I know that they're one of the worst defenses in the league at covering a 3x1 set. Okay. And when I say 3x1, notice I didn't say 1x3, specifically 3x1. So 3 targets on the left side. That can be Trey with a tight end attached, or it can be just, you could go nub right with 3 wide receivers to the left. But Trey left seems to be their weakness. I'm telling you, man, you throw speed to 3 against a cover 3 defense, and you work a slot cross with a dagger concept all in 1 out of 3 targets. That's how you can really put stress on a cover 3 defense. Another thing, too, use tight ends in the middle of the field. Stay balanced in the passing attack by using tight ends Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft on play action to test the intermediate zone. So if you do come out in a 12 personnel, don't be afraid to come out in a 12 personnel, a 12 tray look out of the ace under center, like everybody was saying in the chat earlier, and then run a boot action and have a drive concept like that with Musgrave and Kraft and attack those tight ends once you get them to pull up. And then all of a sudden you've got Musgrave speed, Kraft speed, and size beating them to the punch. So imagine a Trey right look out of ace with 12 personnel. So you've got Romeo Dobbs on the left, okay? And then you're going to have Tucker Kraft attached at the Y. You'll have Musgrave at the U playing off, and then Matthew Golden at the Z, okay? Now imagine running a stretch play to the strong side, show that a couple times, and then you go boot weak where you'll show the stretch, boot off, and then you got Musgrave on a drag, and then you'll have Tucker Kraft on somewhat of a climb. Maybe have you could even, if you don't feel comfortable throwing deep, throwing into the teeth of a cover 3 defense on a streak on the outside with whether it's Romeo, or if you want to go to the Z side with Matthew Golden, you can have them run that deep hitch, that deep comeback, right?
Yep.
So you've got 3 options for Love. As soon as he comes out of that break, you get those linebackers displaced on that stretch run, and then be able to fire underneath. It's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel. So that's what I'm talking about in attacking these linebackers. And when you look at our tight ends, man, Luke Musgrave, 70.8, Tucker Kraft, 68.3, even John Fitzpatrick getting in on the action, 65.4. All 3 of our tight ends, and Musgrave doesn't have enough snaps yet to be able to throw up the ranking, but all 3 tight ends, Emilio, are ranked inside the top 32 tight ends in the league. What's that tell you? All 3 are starting caliber tight ends according to PFF's grading system as it sits in week 3 or week 4, going into week 4, I should say.
Love that. We were hoping a lot for Musgrave this year coming back off the injury, and Fitzpatrick's been kind of doing his own deal in there. I'm glad that he made the team. He's worked hard. He's a guy, he's a dog that always just kind of grinds it out. And then Tucker, if you heard his presser, he was saying, I think our offense would be in its best shape if I touch the ball every drive. I just love that mentality. Might be a little cocky or whatever, but hey, if you kind of have that feeling, we already knew that Tucker was going to be a dog. If he has that chip, that swag, whatever, you got to bring it, right? You can't just kind of talk and not walk it. I think he does the walking, but I love that he was, all for, hey, we want this offense to succeed. I think I got to touch it. So that's exciting to see.
Yeah. And then the other aspect here, just to kind of wrap up the offensive side, draw up rollout plays for Jordan Love. We kind of talked about it. While Love's average of 20.6 pass attempts per game is lower than ideal, the Packers should not abandon the pass. Since the Packers' offensive line struggled against a much better defense in Cleveland, design plays that allow Love to be effective using quick reads and design rollouts, stretch the front seven horizontally with B to C gap fakes with boot action. So that is your offensive game plan for attacking the Dallas Cowboys. Here's what I think we'll do, Emilio. I think we'll hold the defense until tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, so we'll dive into the defensive game plan tomorrow and unveil that as well. Let us know in the chat what you think, okay? Let us know in the chat. Fire it off. Give me maybe one or two things. Hey, here's how I would attack this defense. I know you guys have been very active in here. Obviously, while I'm reading, it's hard to keep up with everything. Let us know what you think in the chat. What's your final thoughts on how to attack this defense offensively here as we travel down to Dallas, Emilio? Anything else you want to add to that, man?
No, I think we kind of covered it. You know, a lot of kind of work in the middle, getting your guys open. You're going to have windows to throw. You know, you're not going up against a lot of man. You got to be prepared for that. You got to be able to, you know, get yourself. So say they're in a cover three, right? And everyone's kind of just sitting even, but you have trips to one side. If they're not going to man up and bring that dude over because he's got a hook curl on the single receiver side, all right, quick audible to a bubble or something. Let's play the numbers game a little bit more. And Matt, give Jordan that freedom to be able to call those. I think maybe we need just another audible here and there. We do. If we don't have our silent count figured out, I think that's an issue. I think that Matt needs to get that taken care of. And when he was talking about just like the preparation and getting ready, I remember those days where you would literally drill for like an hour of, all right, hey, this team on the field, this team, I mean, and you're sprinting onto the sideline, sprinting off, everybody line up. You got to know when you're in for what formation, what grouping. And that's just like the little stuff. If we need to practice it at practice, I know we only have 2 hours. I'd take 20 minutes and run them on and off the field. I want to see full sprint, get into position and go. We got 5 seconds, so it's just repetition. We got to be better on that stuff and no pre-snaps or else I'm going to just lose it.
Yeah, definitely. Chris in the chat says throw a screen once in a while. Yeah, no doubt, man. And again, I'd like to see the reutilization of the RPO game a little bit more, man. Out of gun sidecar. That's just me personally, because again, it stretches them horizontally. It does the same thing. Effectively, it does the same thing that you're trying to accomplish on a stretch boot, something like that, right? Is you're making the linebackers, you're creating a conflict defender there, especially in a trips left. You guys know my favorite formation that the Packers run, and they don't run it as often as I'd like to see them, is a trips left, nub right look. And the reason I love that is because the defense has got to decide, okay, if they're in a sidecar right, are we going to play to the strong side, or knowing that 80% of that run will go across the quarterback's face? So they'll probably play to the weak side. Well, guess what happens? Before the ball snapped, you come in, you could can from one run to another, throw it in a left sidecar real quick before they can react. You're out the gate on the strong side of the formation while they're playing an under defense. Right. Now, if they start to bring that extra defender in, whether it's the nickel cover in the 3, or let's say that they decide to slide a backer over because they're worried about you running to that side now you can go to the RPO game with the bubble, and you've got, whether it's Matthew Golden, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavion Wicks, whoever, right? You're going to have that +1 hat count on the smoke or the bubble screen. So would love to see more of that for sure. J. Cole says, I don't think Matt likes screen much. I would love Savion a wide receiver. Savion is built for a wide receiver screen, Jay. You're spot on there, Jay. So spot on. Yeah. Holmes MD1 says, run between the tackles, work mid-range throws, throw them out of cover 2/3, and then hit them deep repeatedly. I think he might have meant run them out of deep cover 2 or 3 and then hit them deep repeatedly. But so he's definitely on a run between the tackles team. And I think you'll see, Holmes, I think you'll see the majority of the runs be between the tackles, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I'd just like to see a little more stretch because we haven't seen it much at all so far this year. So.
And you can set up a stretch. Remember that the screen to Tucker, that was a fake one way, fake the other way, drop it down the middle, like sort of tunnel. It's like you have that ability. You can kind of set that up with other plays. You can set that up with a toss, with a stretch. bring motion in. That's the other thing is like if we're trying to was Kirk Bankert or whatever, I think when you're trying to get to your landmarks, if the center's waiting on this guy to get across or on the motion, you got an orbit, yo-yo, boomerangs, whatever, zipper. I mean, there's like 100 of them. So yeah, I love all that. I love all the eye candy. We need it, but if there's a way to make it or use the eye candy not based on timing wise, not as based, obviously it's going to be somewhat based if you're running orbit, stuff like that, but just try to loosen the stress of timing that all up within a half a second.
Yeah. Coach Lynn says, I want to see the mindset of getting off the ball by the O-line. That's why I like under center. And I guarantee the O-line does too, man. Because when you're running those bubble screens, right, that we're talking about the RPO stuff, Emilio, they can't just fire off the ball because if they get caught downfield, it's ineligible downfield. So what Coach is saying here, obviously, is when you're under center, those boys, they get to really lick their chops, you know what I mean, and get down there and start.
And you can still throw a quick, smoke route or whatever, just so if you're under center, stand up, fire a thing over if the dude's 8 yards off.
Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely can, man, for sure. Let's see, Chris in the chat. Can you use tight end to block and then let him slip out? See, that's the other thing too, is you guys noticed at the end of that game, the Tucker Kraft play that should have set up what should have been the game-winning field goal. That's what they did, right? It was a little slip outside. It was a leak, and it worked to perfection. Jordan, I think he had a little play action off of that too, right? Yep. A little play action. It was almost like a screen pass. Just throw it right over the end. And we're off, what was it, like 16, 18 yards?
Yep, like a 4-yard pass.
Yeah, right. That's the stuff you got to take what they can give you. It's going to be fun, though, man. It's going to be a great game to measure this team on, because, listen, I know there's a lot of people that think that they're going to just run away with it. I was listening earlier today. Tauscher is so convinced the Packers are just going to boat race. And I'm over here going, I want to be there with you. I just can't. Because I've watched so much damn football. I mean, you heard me last week with Cleveland. It's like, but I do feel like, I will say this, as silly as this sounds, I feel better about this week's game than I did against Cleveland, because Cleveland's defense was just that type of defense that you could look up in the fourth quarter and go, they got us in a headlock, that type of thing. So
yeah, Baldy was on with DJ and Buck on their pod, and they were like, yeah, one of the bigger surprises of the weekend was the Packers-Browns game. Baldy goes, man, I don't know if that was a surprise, man. If you saw that defense, the way they're playing, man, that Brown defense is legit. I mean, they're the real deal. They're probably the best defense in the league type. And, we just caught them at the wrong time. We couldn't finish the game. We need to play 60 minutes. We got to play. Our penalties need to be under 10 penalties for sure. I mean, that's a given. And then, all right, let's see what we can get better at, get the run game going, get things moving in the right direction for this offense.
Yeah, definitely. All right, just a little update on Thursday Night Football. Seattle and Arizona are still tied at 0, according to my score here. 8 minutes left in the first quarter. So, is there anything else you want to hit on, Emilio, before we wrap up, man? Anything at all?
I don't think so. No, I'll do a little digging for defense tomorrow, and I'll listen to the Cowboys pod, see if I can't find anything else out for us.
Yeah, sounds good, man. We'll be back tomorrow, guys, 6:30 p.m. Central, PTA Live. We'll finish the game plan here. Tomorrow we'll start with the defensive game plan and show you how we can try to slow down this offensive attack from the Dallas Cowboys. So in the meantime, you guys – go ahead.
Real quick, I was listening to the Insiders podcast, and they were talking – the lady that does the interviews or whatever for the TV, she said that she saw Hafley grab X and a couple other players and personally met with them in the locker room after the game. But I haven't listened to his presser, but she had said that she mentioned that she's like, I don't really see that normally often when a coach grabs just a few players and has a meeting with them at their locker. So I did want to mention that.
Nice. Appreciate that. Deadfish says, can't have your only turnover in the last 3 minutes. Amen to that, Deadfish. And I will say this, little spoiler for tomorrow. We're going to talk about turnover differential. It heavily, heavily favors the Green Bay Packers in this matchup here. They are turning the ball over quite a bit, they being the Cowboys, and we've done a pretty good job protecting the football. Jordan Love, guys, he's off to a good start. Yep. This is a really good start for Jordan Love. His accuracy looks way better. He looks way more comfortable it's a little too comfortable in the pocket against Cleveland, I believe. He took some of those sacks. I'm like, we got some huevos on him, man. That dude's just standing in there. Just he wasn't afraid to get hit. Yeah, I'm like, but get the hell out of there. I couldn't.
He's closing in.
Wasn't that what Rashid said to him on one
Run,
point?
Jordan. He got beat inside, and Myles Garrett even said, he goes, man, I dusted him on the inside. And Rashid just turns as he's trying to chase down Myles Garrett. Run, Jordan.
Run, Jordan. If you guys
Hey.
have not seen that, just go to X and type in Run Jordan. It'll probably pop up. It is hilarious. And again, it's another reason why I'm like, I don't understand how people think that Rashid is just like a top 5 tackle. He's never been. He's always been a great pass blocker.
Yeah.
But that was the beautiful thing about Bakhtiari. That guy could get out there and run block too, man. But all-time great, all-time great. J. Cole said he laughed his butt off, and it was hilarious. It's hard to be mad at that. I think our buddy Aaron Rodgers, not the Aaron Rodgers, but our Aaron Rodgers sent that to me in a DM. I laughed so hard, man. Run, Jordan.
It's hilarious.
All right, guys, we're out. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Like I said, 6:30 p.m. Central for PTA Live. Let us know in the comments what you think. If this is your first time tuning in tonight or you're watching this video back later, thank you for hanging out with us. Make sure you hit subscribe and click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a good night.
Here we go.
We're out. Bye, guys.